Here in Rogers Center, we're all sort of jumping up and down to the DJ music. Hopefully that's not too distractive, but it is going on in the background. So we're going to take a few questions, and then we're going to actually ask our panelists for a couple key takeaways and words of advice and wisdom from each for you. So let's start with the first one. This comes from our nation's capital, and Peter Drucker is quoted here. Peter Drucker said, and the experience of Nortel, BlackBerry, and their peers supports that high technology is very risky and prone to destroy wealth. Nonetheless, high tech gets all the press. It seems to be sexy. On that basis, should we as business professionals be encouraging lower tech innovation and discouraging high tech? Nora, you're beside me. Why don't you take this one?
Well, it's you know, when I listen to that message, it may be that in our discussion we've been overemphasizing the technology point here. And I think the message should be that, you know, disruptive strategies have been true throughout the ages, you know, as we started, be it in retail or other elements. And, you know, I think all these lessons are as relevant, whether they're high tech or low tech. You should be sensitive to what are the disruptions that could be coming in with a broad external lens. I think the second point's really around risk here. And you know, one of the core roles of a director is risk assessment. And the first question is really, what is the risk appetite of the board? And what are the principles around governing risk that are appropriate for your company and for your industry? If you've got a lot of financial risk, you may want to be quite careful around the business risks you're underwriting. So one, what's the appropriate risk appetite? Two, you know, have you assessed that risk and you know, allocated across your different risks appropriately? And what's the return that you expect to get, and are you getting it? So I would parse it as being, be it low tech or high tech, you need to have that external lens on what are the potential attackers out there. And any risk you undertake, you have to be deliberate and say, is it appropriate for your company, and what's the nature of the risk, and how as a board are you going to be on top of it and managing it?
Yeah, so that's a good point. It's not all about technology. Terry, I'm going to send this over to you. What do you mean by innovation, and where do you see innovation fitting within the typical corporation ecosystem, R&D, processes, networks, alliances, or elsewhere?
Thanks, Don. So definition of innovation is important, and somebody with innovation in their title, you know, this is an abusive thing. It's the oversearched word, innovation. So we did a lot of research on the topic and actually tried to unpack what people really mean by innovation and what are the actual different types of innovation. We did something very unconventional. We did our research, and then we actually published an entire book of it. So as opposed to keeping the intellectual property and then sharing it through consulting engagements, we published the entire book, and it's called The 10 Types of Innovation. So you can go online or at Amazon and get it. But really boiled it down to like 3 fundamental categories: configuration, product, and customer experience. And if you look across the 10 types, it's things like business model innovation, network innovation, process improvements, organizational structures. Products and product systems get talked about a lot, like when you talk about Apple and so on. But then the other one that we think is really important as we go forward for a lot of organizations is customer experience innovation: service, channel, brand, and customer engagement. So those 10 types are the way we define it. We see it impacting all of those areas: R&D, core processes, whether it's your selling or your product manufacturing, et cetera. All of those are essential. And we talked a little bit about ecosystems earlier, so the alliances and the things that you need to drive out.
Okay, here's one from Toronto, and Michael, I'll send this over to you. What are they seeing as opportunities for this innovative response in the Ontario Canadian government-funded hospital sector?
Well, it's first of all a very challenging sector because it's really grown up in a very, very disparate way, and technology is one of the things that can you know, provide an awful lot of sort of unification or linkage between things. But I think if you look across a very broad front of how innovation and technology is being introduced into that sector broadly, there's really a couple of levels. It is a consolidating sector, so you know, we're moving toward larger aggregations of units, whether it's a local hospital network or consolidating the supply of certain things, whether it's bulk purchase of medicines or services, data centers, that type of thing. So I think there's a number of innovative opportunities there just in terms of how the industry is broadly organized. And those, to some degree, are organizational, not technological. And then clearly at the other end, at the patient end, there's an extraordinary amount of innovation starting to happen in terms of what is being deployed in hospitals. The devices are quite remarkable in terms of their sophistication and what they can do. And also now right down to the consumer level where individuals are going to have the ability and are increasingly being given the ability to have access to personal health records, to certain reporting functions like taking blood pressure and things like that. So the sky is almost the limit in that space.
So I'm going to move it. I'm getting close. So this is going a little west. Edmonton, Tim, over to you. Interested in Intact's reaction to the disruption caused by Uber. I would appreciate a comment on the potential disruption of driverless cars, which will result in a significant reduction in car accidents, hopefully.
Hopefully it will reduce car accidents, but it has obviously it has a massive impact on the insurance industry. Autonomous cars hopefully won't run into each other, and so you asked the question, what would be the need for insurance in that world? And I guess as a board member on Intact, I'm satisfied that management is working on it. And that in and of itself is sufficient for me, that I know they're working on it, I know they're dabbling and trying to understand what this world of driverless cars will be like. And for me, I would liken it to, at P&G, 15 years ago, we were working on the first of the home delivery companies that were delivering groceries to your door or maybe to a box in your garage. And it's that foundational learning by working with those companies. Those companies went bankrupt, but the learning is what's allowing us to work so well with Amazon today. And similarly, I'm satisfied that at Intact, they are working on the area of autonomous cars, and that will create opportunities for the future.
So we're moving into what I call a round of quickfire, and so I'm only give you 30 seconds or less to leave your last words of wisdom. I know that's a challenge. We are about innovation, so quick message. Nora, what would that be?
Well, to me, the big message is really about making sure that you've got an external lens, both at the board level and at management level, because the world is changing. It's changing rapidly, and we need to be aware of what's happening out there and help our leadership and our companies respond and anticipate those changes.
Michael.
Be curious, be inquisitive, explore the art of the possible in whatever the business is. Work very closely with management, both in assessing their capabilities and giving them capabilities, and make sure your board has the breadth of thought that it allows you to look through a very wide lens or an external lens at some of these challenges that will come.
Okay, Tim.
I think it's a very simple thought, and that is, I think we're all talking about attitude, and the attitude is embrace change. Embrace the possibilities that change will provide to your company, and embrace the external changes that come at you.
Terry, 30 seconds.
Be aware, learn about all the technologies, but actually do it and experience it. So I think that's where all of the panelists have talked about. Sign up for Uber. Rent an Airbnb hotel room or a house for the day. Try the different kinds of capabilities, the mobile apps, et cetera, so you learn from experience. And find the constructive disruptor that'll challenge your own thinking.
So well done, panel. I want to thank you all. You did keep to under 30 seconds. By the way, the dialogue's not over. We did today, but of course we're using social media, and you can go to our LinkedIn site and continue the dialogue. We didn't get to all the questions. We will be responding there and can continue the dialogue. So we'll do that out in social media. Next session, it's not far away, January 7th. It's about audit committees. But it's not about compliance. We believe that corporate reporting, we talked about innovation, it needs some disruption, it needs some innovation, and that is one of the key subjects we're going to be talking about. In your handout package, there is a little background on some of the work we've and thought pieces we've done around that. So have a look at that. Put in your diary January 7th, 2016 for our next session. Next piece, we want your feedback. Tell us what was good, what was bad, What would you like to see going forward so we can meet your expectations? Hopefully you've enjoyed the session, and I'm sure you heard some of the music, but we have to close with this. Go, Jays, go. Thank you, and have a good afternoon. Take care.